Now, in a lucid dream, you are gaining conscious access to the depths of that iceberg. You are bungee jumping a thread of your awareness down into the iceberg and exploring your own unconsciousness. That in itself can lead to some pretty far-out psychedelic experiences, because you can actually speak to aspects of your own psychology. I'm sure... So just having access to your own iceberg is already pretty far out, because in a lucid dream you can speak to archetypes of your own psychology. In a lucid dream you can meet your shadow. The shadow being the term popularized by Carl Jung to describe the parts of our unconscious mind which we have rejected, denied, and disowned. The dark side of the human mind, but a side which is not evil, a side which is a powerhouse of creativity. We can also, within our own lucid dream, meet a personification of our own subconscious. A couple of years ago, I went into a lucid dream and called out, "I want to meet my subconscious mind." The dream blacked out and a woman appeared holding a clipboard. I was like, no way. So I walked up to this woman and I went, I thought I didn't want to put expectation into her. "Hey, who are you?" And she went, "I'm your subconscious." And I went, "What? You're my subconscious mind?" He said, "Yes." I went, "Wait, you are a personification of my own subconscious and I'm dreaming." And she became a little bit impatient and went, "Yes." Now I hadn't thought what to ask her. So I go, "Well, how am I doing?" And she goes, "Yeah, you're doing all right." And then there was silence. I thought, "Oh God, but I make most of this." I went, "Well, look, I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry for that stuff I put you through. I'm really sorry for those girlfriends I cheated on when I was 13. I'm sorry for all the drugs singing in my teens. I'm sorry for the stuff I said to my dad." I just started confessing and apologizing to my subconscious. And then when I was done, she just brought me in and hugged me and whispered in my ear and went, "It's okay, you're working with that." And I started crying in the dream, and then the same thing happened, so you cry and awake and say, and I wake up with floods of tears. Now, I have no idea whether I was actually meeting a personification of my subconscious. But what I do know is that that next day was lit up. Something had shifted, something had changed, and that I had engaged a deep confessional to an aspect of my psychology which led to a deep healing. Now, that's the kind of stuff you can get up to when you access your own iceberg in the lucid dream. But the really far out and more kind of psychedelic aspects of this are when you go down into the iceberg and explore the sea in which the iceberg floats, commonly referred to as collective unconscious universal mind stream. The lucid dream is a partially permeable state. Its walls are thin. It is very difficult for anything to come into your lucid dream, but it is much easier for you to flow out. Right now, the boundaries of consciousness in normal waking state are pretty solid. We've got to do a lot of meditation or have a big experience for us to bust out of sense of self, right? Into the collective, out of this kind of dualistic illusion which we call reality. In the lucid dream state, you are already experiencing something which is less dualistic. So from that state, it is much easier to leave the boundaries of the dream and come in contact with the collective unconscious. Now, if you're into things like the Akashic records, the history of everything ever experienced, not just by human consciousness, but by consciousness itself, being somehow imprinted into the magnetic memory of the universe, then imagine what it means if through a lucid dream you can go and explore that. I have been further out through lucid dreaming than I ever went through any of my psychedelic experiences. Now, admittedly, most of my psychedelic experience I was very young and unexperienced. But it is interesting to know that if you look at mind and the universal mind, these are the same minds you're dealing with through psychedelic experience, whether drug-induced or not. So to be able to access those states through your sleep, rather than through the ingestment of anything, is something interesting to look at. Next slide, please.
This leads us on to contact with states beyond the dream. Receiving teachings from seemingly autonomous sources of enlightened awareness. Once we go into the lucid dream, we can leave the sides of the dream and enter into this collective unconscious, where we may be able to work with not only archetypes of our own, like when I met the subconscious, but universal archetypes that exist in a seemingly realistic place and appear to be seemingly autonomous. For anyone who's had an experience, perhaps drug-related, where they have seemed to leave the confines of their minds and be interacting with seemingly autonomous, intelligent beings, this is a very similar experience that we can access through the lucid dream. Now actually, to say access through the lucid dream is incorrect here, because once you do this, you have left the boundaries of the lucid dream and are an experience of what in the West we refer to as out-of-body exploration, out-of-body experience. For me, there is a definite difference between these two. A lucid dream is happening in your own head. It is limited to the confines of your own consciousness, which, by the way, is pretty limitless, but still has boundaries. An out-of-body experience, which can be accessed both from the waking state, of course, but much more easily through a certain practice done within the lucid dream, allows you to access those states as well. Intradimensional travel. Once this happens, the time-space continuum is out the window. You are a disembodied point of awareness traveling through what seems to be the galaxy or galaxies of awareness. When this happens, it can seem like you're going very far away from your own head. How do you tell the difference between this and a lucid dream? There are many ways to tell. But one of them is that in the lucid dream, you can change stuff. In the lucid dream, I can put my hands through walls. In the lucid dream, I can make people appear at will because it's my own psychology. And my psychology will respond to my expectations and suggestions. In the out-of-body state, you can expect all you want, and you can suggest all you want. But you are in a shared mind stream. So all those tricks you'll try in lucid dream just won't work. And this is how we can definitely tell whether we're in the OBE state or the lucid dream state. The teachings that you can receive once within the lucid dream and without the lucid dream are very, very specific. These aren't just like you wake up and think, oh, I had a dream where somebody said I should take that job. No, this is you will have full-on conversations with people within the lucid dream or out the boundaries of the lucid dream that will go on for many sentences. The recent one I had with this, that I just put a YouTube thing on a couple of months ago, was I became lucid, and as soon as I was lucid, these two guys appeared, and they said, we'd like to offer you the 3 guidelines. And I was like, what? 3 guidelines about what? I'm about to fly off into the sky and do some skateboarding. No, to do some meditation. And they said, the 3 guidelines. And they gave me 3 very specific teachings. One was about that, one was to give offerings at the beginning of every lucid dream. They said the lucid dream is a sacred space, and before you begin, you should make offerings to the dreaming mind itself. The second one was about shadow integration. The metaphor they used was that the shadow is like a big dog. When you ring on a door, if a big dog lives there, it will jump on you and pounce on you. It was never meaning to attack, it was just saying hello. And the third one was, your mind is heavily encrypted. It is almost impossible for anything to enter your mind within the lucid dream unless you let it enter. Something else that you might like to know if you're a bit worried about this fact I'm saying the lucid dream is partially permeable. I spoke to a shaman friend about this recently, and he was saying, it's only the good guys who know how to get in your dreams now anyway. You know, he said the level of meditative awareness you have to reach to be able to get into somebody else's dream without them letting you in is so high that only the good guys know how to do it now. The bad guy just steals cars. He said in the old days it was different. You could really get, you know, like in Inception, you could really get information and stuff from other people's heads. But nowadays, it's the bad guys just aren't putting in the effort. So you are safe in it. But this is an important moment to say, especially at a psychedelics conference, something about lineage. And Here is he. So David, it's a good time to plug David actually from Gateways of the Mind. A really cool conference, guys, coming up in November. An exploration of lucid dreaming, out-of-body experience. You have a flyer on your bag. Check it out. Are we still doing that talk on Wednesday? No. Okay, well, we've got something in the pipeline where I'll be having a debate with Rory McSweeney about drug-induced psychedelic experiences within lineage and without. The same goes for lucid dreaming. If you practice lucid dreaming yourself, you might get stuck in an ego trip like I did, of just spending your lucid dreams on being good at skateboarding and having sex. If you practice within a lineage, this allows you to go further out into the dream, not less. You know, some people seem to have this thing, if you do it within the lineage, you will be limited. The opposite is true. To do spiritual practice within a lineage is like going to the gym and lifting weights with a spotter. Does anyone know what a spotter is? I mean, I don't actually go to the gym, but you see these guys and they have those big things when they're lifting the heavy weights, yeah? And they have a guy underneath them to catch the weight in case it falls. The reason those guys have a spotter is so they can lift weights heavier than they think they can. Not so they can lift less weight. And that's what lineage gives us. It gives us a spotter. It shows us that if we do drop the weight, which we will inevitably at some point, someone will be there to catch it. So my advice to you is this: if you do get into lucid dreaming and do want to explore it for its use of psychedelic experience and out-of-body exploration work, please try and do it within an authentic lineage that exists today. Not just from a book and not just from a talk, but somebody who is somehow connected with the lineage. Because that will give you the power, strength, and safety that you need to move through in that practice. Next slide, please. Preparation for the after-death bardo. This is far out. Within Tibetan Buddhism, the primary aim of lucid dreaming and dream yoga practice is for preparation for the death and dying states. Straight off the bat, we can see how within Tibetan Buddhism there is nothing flaky or left field about lucid dreaming. Lucid dreaming forms part of dream yoga, which is an esteemed practice used to train ourselves for the most important moment of our lives, our death. Bardo is a Tibetan word meaning place in between, intermediate place. This life is actually a bardo. It is the bardo between birth and death. The after-death bardo is the bardo between death and rebirth. In Buddhism, you don't just die and become reborn like that. Once you die, you enter into the bardo state. The bardo state is said to be a dreamlike, hallucinatory projection that our mind stream enters into once it is separated from the physical, gross corporeal form at the point of death. Dreamlike, hallucinatory experience. Lucid dreaming is used to train to recognize that bardo. It's said that every time you train yourself to have a lucid dream and go, aha, I'm dreaming, you're training yourself to have the moment of, aha, I'm dead. What's such a big deal about saying, aha, I'm dead? The big deal is 99.9999% of people don't have that moment. We are swept through by the winds of karma into our next rebirth before we even know about it. But it's said that if you can become lucid in the after-death bardo state, this holds the highest spiritual potential. It's believed that one moment of lucid awareness within the bardo can lead to the realization of enlightenment. Some teachings say you have to say a certain mantra and all this kind of stuff. Basically, it's a big deal. If you can become lucid in the after-death bardo state, you can at least guide your consciousness to a favorable rebirth. Much in the same way as in a lucid dream, I can guide myself to the beach if I want to go surfing in a lucid dream. In the after-death bardo state, with that higher level of consciousness, you can guide yourself to a next rebirth. If not, you can go straight off into the kind of nirvanic realms of Dewa-Chen and the Buddha realms. But it takes more than just having a few lucid dreams to get lucid in the after-death bardo state. You know, when I was interviewing a lot of these lamas for their book, I interviewed the lady who runs the Buddhist center where I live called Lama Zangmo. And I was waxing lyrical about lucid dreaming. Oh, it's so cool, it prepares you for death and all this stuff. It's, you know, amazing. And she said, Charlie, you are less likely to recognize the after-death bardo state through lucid dreaming alone than you are to throw a pen and a pad out of an aeroplane and a poem be written by the time it hits the floor. So eloquent in her put-down of you. So I've wasted my life. No, you haven't wasted your life. It's brilliant. Lucid dreaming training definitely prepares us for the bar. But it needs to be part of a lineage. It needs to be part of a daytime meditation practice. And it needs to form the basis of a lifetime of spiritual and psycho-spiritual growth. However, I was a little bit put down by that. So I thought I'd ask Lama Yeshe Rinpoche, who's my teacher, my guru, and he's a dream yoga master. He's done 11 years of isolated retreat by himself. A lot of those years were spent doing dream yoga and out-of-body exploration. I asked him, and he said, if you can train yourself to reliably recognize the dream, then death means nothing to you. Because at the point of death, you can recognize the bardo as a dream state, and then you can be with Buddha, or be with the divine. So when it's 4 o'clock in the morning and I'm up in bed looking at my hand and writing down my dreams and doing all these crazy practices, that's the bit that gets me through. He is directly saying that if you nail this practice, you are preparing yourself for the ultimate psychedelic experience. The experience of death. And the psychedelic pioneers have known this. I mean, look at the early works by Leary where he's using the Tibetan Book of the Dead, which is, of course, the guiding of the awareness through the body as a reference to psychedelic experience. To put that in context, that means that by training in lucid dreaming, not only are we exploring our own internal capacity for psychedelic experience, we are preparing ourselves to experience the ultimate in psychedelic experience, the death and dying process. Every time you fall asleep at night, you are getting a trial run for death and dying. Whether you get lucid or not, every time you fall asleep, you enter into a hallucinatory projection of your own mind's creation. Once you become lucid in a dream and experience how bright the colors are, how intense the feelings are, and do something as little as eat an apple in a lucid dream, you will not only call into question the very nature of life itself, but definitely the nature of psychedelic experience. I wish I had known about lucid dreaming before I got into all the drug stuff. It's not that I'm anti-drugs now, it's just I went too far out and lost a lot of brain cells. If this stuff could be put to people in such a way that they knew they could reach those states without having to have these experiences, which, to be honest, outside of lineage can be pretty dangerous. Inside of lineage, it's a very different story, but out of lineage, very dangerous. I think we could help a lot of people. Next slide, please. Lucidity tips. I was trying to think, if I was kind of selling lucidity to somebody, like I was selling a trip, what would I go for? No ingestion of any substances required. You don't need to take anything for lucid dreaming. It is absolutely free. It is open source material. You go to a workshop by someone like me, or you read a book, or you get it online, you learn how to do it, and you do it yourself. You can do it alone in the confines of your own bedroom. A wealth of mental and physical health benefits. Usually I spend a lot of time when I'm teaching looking at all the benefits of lucid dreaming. I haven't, because we're focusing on this. But the psycho-spiritual benefits of lucid dreaming are found. Even in mainstream medical science, the use of lucid dreaming as a treatment for nightmares or post-traumatic stress is so well researched that in 2009 at the Milan Milan University Medical Science Conference, they posited in the end of session debate between the speakers that there could be a time when lucid dream training is prescribed to chronic nightmare sufferers in favor of the often highly addictive tranquilizing drugs that are now given. Imagine that. There could be a day that you go to the doctor and say, I'm having these terrible post-traumatic stress nightmares, and he sends you on a lucid dreaming workshop. Hasn't happened yet, but it may happen. Unrestricted by censorship or state control, nobody can control your dreams. People can control the drugs you consume. They can make ayahuasca illegal in several countries. They can start banning all the kind of stuff that used to be herbal highs and which are now not. They can start changing their views on cannabis use in public. They can change their minds all they like, but no one will get into your dreams. They will always be completely uncensored and always be your true expressions of freedom. Training the mind to recognize real life as a hallucinatory psychedelic experience. That's the ultimate. That is the ultimate psychedelic aspect of lucid dreaming. Within Tibetan Buddhism, we train to recognize the dream so that we can recognize this as a dream. That we can be like Buddha, the awakened one. Buddha was not born Buddha. He was a rich kid, son of a kind of a nobleman called Siddhartha Gautama. You know, he wasn't born Buddha, he was born a man. But he trained his mind to such an extent that he woke up and became the awakened one. Woke up from what? And woke up to what? Some God, some creator, some divine existence? No. He woke up to the realization that what he believed was separate from him was in fact part of him. He woke up beyond any notion of dualism and came into a visceral experience of oneness in the present moment. Every time you have a lucid dream, you are training yourself for that. Every time you have a lucid dream and go, aha, wow, I totally thought I was giving a conference at Greenwich Uni and I'm actually dreaming, and you're all projections of my mind. You are a projection of my psychology, which has a beard. You're a projection of my psychology, which has a really funky beard. I wonder what you represent. You know, that kind of realization you have in the lucid dream is preparing yourself for this, so that one day we can wake up and see that these people who seem so separate from us, and with that separateness bring the threat of separateness, we can see that we're one with them. And that's love. That's way beyond any psychedelic experience. It's an experience of ultimate love in the present moment. And lucid dreaming can help with that, which I think is pretty far out. Thank you. Are there any questions? Yeah. Make them easy.
You state that there is a difference between taking substances and having lucid dream, but there is no direct relation between these substances and plants, which are called neurogenic, and the lucid dreams. There is no relation. For example, with tobacco, when it's used by shaman to induce dreams, there is no relation.
Oh, you can definitely take drugs to lead to lucid dreams, absolutely. Yes. But it's not a requirement. Lucid dreams don't need anything to induce them. Yeah, there's stuff like galantamine. I mean, you take a lot of magic mushrooms and go to sleep, you're probably going to have some very interesting lucid dream experiences. Absolutely. They're linked and can lead to them, but they aren't a requirement and definitely not a prerequisite.
Yeah, but it can help. They are instrument, for example.
It can help, but why not just learn how to do it without them?
Quicker.
Because it's quicker.
There is no contraindication. I mean, if you take tobacco and you boil it and you drink tobacco before going to sleep, you probably will have a lucid dream, and that's okay. That's no problem.
The tobacco thing is true. I mean, people go to sleep with nicotine patches on to lead to lucid dreams. What I'd say is, do you really want to be pumping nicotine into your system to have a lucid dream? Come and hang out with me for one day, I'll give you a lucid dream that night.
Yeah, but I'm speaking about
That's not money back guarantee.
But it's not whatever system. It's tobacco. It's sacred plant.
Yeah,
It can
no.
help you.
Yeah.
It's different from other stuff.
It can, and I know, you're talking about tobacco like within a lineage with the shamans, and my view of kind of ingesting substances within a lineage and within a sacred space, that's a very different perspective on that. And that would be, supportive of. Yeah.
But I think that's a really interesting question, because it's talking about like technologies.
Yeah.
And and in a way, the teaching of the lineage is also technology. The visualize the glowing red, in your throat is a technology. The tobacco is a technology. A lot of the practices that we learn if you go to, like with the hand with the way, or those kinds of things. So it's a very interesting, I think, on the edge question.
Yeah.
We're here at Psychedelics Conference, so the use of the substances, things like tobacco or Achilles, whatever these things are. But the question of technologies for lucid dreaming is really interesting.
Yeah, from a Buddhist point of view, the reason why there's not use of any kind of external ingested technologies, or very, very little in Tibetan Buddhism, is because of this view of Buddha nature, which is that we are already fully enlightened. We don't need to add anything. The only thing we need to do is realize it. So this is why there's no need to add anything exterior to the mind, because the mind is already absolutely pristine and fully divine and enlightened. We just don't know it yet. It's not that there's anything intrinsically wrong with the substances being ingested. It's just within this particular lineage, the view is you're there already.
Yes, but it's a kind of limitation, no? You don't need to be limited to Buddhism teaching. If you have other kind of teaching, well, you use it.
Oh, absolutely. All I can do is teach you from within my tradition, which is, I teach lucid dreaming within the context of Tibetan Buddhism.
Yeah, that's different. Our tradition as tobacco is a tradition.
Oh, totally, yeah. Yeah. So I'm just saying within Tibetan Buddhism, there's very, very little use of ingested substances.
So anyway, I feel maybe you should clarify or in a certain tradition, and there are other traditions where what you're saying is not true.
Yeah. Yes.
Do you think, what's your viewpoint on Stratton's contention that it's all endogenous DMT states anyway?
Sorry, say that again?
What's your viewpoint on Stratton's contention that the dream state and the near-death state are endogenous DMT experiences? Do you believe that what you're doing is training your brain to engage with your endogenous DMT?
Oh, as in the small amounts of DMT that seem to be released during the dream states, and at larger quantities at
So
the
these
death
are just
process.
techniques for engaging that kind of...
I would really love to see what's happening to the neurotransmitters, especially DMT, once you become lucid. Whether there's an increase or a decrease, I have no idea.
You mentioned the aha moment with the fMRI scan. How does that link into what Robin has been seeing with psilocybin? Because I mean, they're very, very similar. You're talking about psilocybin 4OH, would be phonetic 5OH. We believe we've got all three combinations present in our body.
Yeah, is that a reasonably young guy talking about mushrooms?
Yeah,
I saw him talk. Yeah, I saw him talk last year at King's College Medical School. I haven't seen him this year, but if it's a similar thing, then yes, it's very interesting that you see these things are present already, and that whether we're doing stuff that are kind of mind-based to get them released or ingesting something to release them. Yeah.
Did you see that down? I mean, the fMRI scan, did it show down regulation of the heart between the three?
No, all they were looking at was basically the stuff where they discovered lucid dreaming on the fMRI scan was not to look at lucid dreaming. It was actually looking at the seat of consciousness, because they realized they couldn't see where consciousness arose from, because people were either awake or asleep. So they couldn't see that moment snapped in. They realized through lucid dreamers they could study meta-awareness. So it wasn't actually a lucid dreaming study at Frankfurt University, Max Planck Institute. It was a study looking at awareness itself. So I don't know, that would be super cool to look at. Yeah, great question. And if there are any researchers here, guys, I know there's a lot of university people here. There is a large group in London. I mean large, I'd say at least 20 people in London who I know through the Dream Forum, different dream groups, who have a stabilized lucid dream practice. This means if you put them in your sleep lab, give them a couple of nights and you'll get some lucid dreams from them. So we have that in London. So if there are any people who want to do these studies, then please do come and see us, because we'd love to get hooked up to these brain scanners and see what's going on. Yeah.
I've got a few. I'll just do a really quick one. You mentioned that all children have the capability of lucid dream when they do.
Yes.
How is that being deduced?
Well, it's funny. The studies start with 7 and 8 year olds. And I thought, oh, do they start lucid dreaming at 7 or 8? I followed through the footnotes. The reason they start 7 or 8 is any younger they don't believe them. So they only believe the...
It's self-reports, it's not
Yeah.
MRI.
Yeah. So that's why they think with younger kids they could just be saying, oh yeah, I had a lucid dream, I did this, I did that. But apparently maybe about 7 or 8 they start to believe it. But the earlier stuff they did with EEGs, whether they hooked up any kids to EEGs in the early 80s or not, I don't know.
It would be interesting to replicate the data that was done at the Max Planck Center with kids is basically
Yeah.
at the same transition.
Yeah, I'd love that. And especially, last year I started getting kids coming to my workshops. Not that young, but 13-year-old, 12-year-old came with his brother. And they sat through all the science stuff, they weren't bored. And the 13-year-old then got an email from his mum a couple of days later going, what have you done to my child? He keeps on sitting upright before bed. And I was like, oh, he's doing his meditation, he's doing meditation. And he got lucid within a couple of weeks.
How do you know that all children have lucid dreams? We say it's spontaneous, natural, all children have, and then we forget all of us. But how do you know that?
I don't know, that's what he just asked. I don't know. I can find the studies. Everything kind of
But
footnoted.
I think because children until the age of 7 or
I'll tell you what, the quote from the Kids Dreaming Spontaneity is from J. Allen Hobson, who's pretty much the world leading researcher on sleep and dreams. I don't know how, so good question, but I know the quotes from Hobson, so I trust it. But I'll check up on that. Send me an email though, because I need to check up all these. Thank you. Yes?
How do you think one could potentially overcome any fear or anxiety associated with either nightmares or a dream state in general before commencing with something like lucid dream training?
Yeah.
Because potentially there could be some barriers to even entering
Absolutely.
that training, so how would one combat that?
I use kind of a case study to exemplify this. Last year I worked with a woman who was on the 7/7 bombing, the bus that got blown up at Tavistock Square. She was on the lower deck, thankfully. But she came to me saying, I haven't slept for 5 or 6 years. And I said, well, you must have slept. She said, okay, I get 2 or 3 hours a night. And she wanted to come on this retreat I was doing, like a 4-day retreat. And I said, look, I'm totally out of my depth. I'm not a psychotherapist. There's going to be a mindfulness ex-nurse trained in mindfulness who's going to be working alongside me. She'll be there for you. With her, what we did first thing was to create a safe space around sleep. So for her, the first night on the retreat, we don't go for lucid dreaming, but what we do is the first half of the night you sleep alone in your bedroom, and the second half we then set up a sacred sleeping area in the shrine room where you sleep side by side with your brothers and sisters along the path, and you come in and there's candlelight, and we kind of bless the space. It's a sacred space, and for her, that gave her her first proper night's sleep in years. The fact that she could sleep actually in a safe space side by side. So psychological safety is really important before you get into lucid dreaming. Even if it's something, it's actually physical safety. You know, a lot of insomniacs, you can find there are things like locking the door that helps people sleep better. You know, these kind of unconscious anxieties we have. So first thing to work with safety. Second thing is to come to that friendship with the dreaming mind. So start keeping a dream diary, start being aware of the dream, start extending the hand of friendship. You know, things are only scary if we don't know them, or lots of things. So make the unknown known. Get to know your dreaming mind. Get to know that even when it presents you with nightmares, it's not giving you nightmares because it hates you. It's giving nightmares because, you know, a nightmare is a big neon sign saying, deal with this, deal with this, deal with this, deal with this. A nightmare is saying, I want to heal. If we didn't have nightmares, then there might be the problem. You know, having nightmares is like a wound weeping. When the wound weeps, there's healing. You know, it's not going gangrenous. So these nightmares can be really good, but first is open up to a kind of friendship with the dream, and then work on lucid dreaming there. Just to finish off that story, on the second night she had a lucid dream. The third night she had a lucid dream and started saying Om Mani Padme Hum mantras, which are compassion mantras, to the source of her trauma, which was the bombing. I had a Skype session with her today. I haven't seen her in a year and a half, and her sleep never went back to how it was. She's been sleeping average, still not a lot, but average 5, 6, sometimes 7 hours a night since then. I definitely didn't heal her. Lucid dreaming didn't. She healed herself. Yeah, let's have a guy at the back.
You said that the Buddhists don't use, they're not really keen on using any substances.
Yeah, very rarely.
You don't have to deal with a lot of the environmental toxins that we're dealing with. I was thinking particularly things like the chlorine water and fluoride in toothpaste.
Yeah.
They're things that affect us very, very deeply. One of the things I've experienced using nutrition is that vitamin B6 actually really aids dream recall.
Yeah, definitely.
Vitamin B6 and zinc
Yeah.
actually really help dream recall. Would that come under your category of substances?
It's funny, I've got to say, I sometimes bosh a Boots effervescence, a high-strength B vitamin supplement to bed if I'm having a bit of a drought. That's as far out as I go, guys. How rock and roll. Yeah, you know, B vitamins, I don't know, man. If I can, I'll get it from food by eating a whole load of almonds, organic almonds before bed, loads of zinc, magnesium, and B vitamins. You know, yeah, where's the line?
That must be really quite relevant. So I was wondering, really, you're talking about all children dreaming.
Yeah.
It's like, well, how do we lose it? You know, is it all through conditioning, or is it through conditioning and environment?
My theory on why children lose the ability to lucid dream is when they go into mainstream education. If you look at children, they are naturally right brain dominant. When we dream, it is the right brain that is engaged. The left brain is almost entirely offline during dreaming. Children are right brain dominant pretty much 24 hours of the day. They're spending the whole day playing. So when they dream, they naturally have a stronger blood flow connection to the right brain hemisphere. when they go into full-time education, at least in this country and Western Europe, they seem to stop reporting dreaming itself, and especially lucid dreaming. I think it's not that the children are getting more tired because they're in full-time education. I think it's because we're moving into the left brain dominance of adulthood. I'll back up this claim by the fact, if anyone here has a friend who is right brain dominant, they probably lucid dream. How do you know if your friend's right brain dominant? They were late to turn up here. They may well be left-handed. They will probably be terrible with money, but they'll be amazing artists, and they'll probably sickeningly be able to lucid dream without much practice. So you find that the left brain dominant adults lucid dream. So I'd use that to kind of back up that claim, although it's just a theory. Maybe one more question. Oh, sorry, yeah. Becky. Becky.
Yeah, you mentioned about getting from the lucid state into out-of-body experiences being quite simple, but I've often had it where I've inadvertently found myself in an out-of-body state and wanted to get back into a lucid state because I'm having to deal with various negative entities that seem to occur. So what I was wondering was, you also mentioned about making offerings and what sort of thing that may be, and also you know, how to actually get back into the lucid state, so that it's sort of a subjective thing rather than being a collective unconscious.
The kind of practicalities of boosting out the dream and getting back in again, the reason why I kind of glossed over it so quickly is because in a kind of an open talk like this, I probably wouldn't go into exactly how to do these things because it's not such a kind of a safe place, but we can have a chat about it afterwards. The other part of your question was the offerings to the dream. When the guideline person told me, they said that I had to offer these little red balls of light to the dream, and I was like, what the hell is that? Now in the lucid dream since then, there'd be no little red ball of light, so I basically, as soon as I get lucid, I'm lucid, oh cool, thank you so much for the lucid dream, thank you, I want to be friends, let's have a really good lucid dream guys, let's go. I just offer like love. I don't know, I don't like give anything, I just offer like, you know, I say thank you basically.
Cool, that makes